major.
I'm Amanda. I'm an architecture major.
I'm Jackson. I'm also architecture.
I'm Andrea. I'm a pre-med student.
Okay. So little background to our topic. We're discussing idealization and how it affects all of our discourse communities within the 3 different majors we have up here. So at first, we came and showed you guys a whole bunch of different ideas involving like technology and all this stuff. And then we finally came to this small little idea of idealization. And we made it work.
Yeah, so basically, idealization is a really powerful tool that we all use in different ways. And, it has sort of this double-edged quality where every time you idealize something, you're kind of taking away a detail or some aspect of it. But, mostly, it really depends on how you're using it. Like, you could use it for kind of more evil purposes. If you're trying to just, like, sell someone something that it doesn't necessarily have that quality or whatever. Bless you. But most of the time, it's really just for simplification. If I'm trying to describe something that is really particular to my discourse community, and I'm using terms that the layman might not know, to really get past that and like call your focus onto something. I think all of us use that idealization in that kind of way. But yeah, it's more of a tool. It just depends on how you use it.
So why we use idealization? We all use it because we're not trying to like lead people in the wrong way, but we want to make sure that we don't over-explain things to where people don't understand what we're saying. Because when we're trying to explain a drawing or a rendering, it's hard for us to use certain terms when you don't understand architecture. So we use it so that it can like kind of bring it to a more general kind of idea so everyone can understand it. And it also allows us to minimize distractions and make it so that we can have people focus on a certain area or a certain aspect that we're trying to call attention to and that we want to elaborate on and people to understand.
So for my field, I wanted to talk about how the pharmaceutical community idealizes medical conditions and treatments in order to communicate with the public as a whole. And they do this through prescription drug commercials. I'm actually going to show you guys one in a moment, but I just wanted to explain how they basically briefly inform the public of a medical condition in the first place. They're not, in a way, you kind of see prescription drug commercials as kind of trying to sell you the drug, but they're actually, I asked some people about how they felt about it, because I kind of feel that way, like they're just trying to sell you stuff. But sometimes people aren't even aware of some of the medical conditions that other people have, and some people might see these commercials and kind of feel like maybe they do have that, and so that might therefore make them go ask their doctor about it. But they basically will highlight symptoms. Some of them illustrate the mechanisms of the body that are affected, and basically they give an overall treatment for the medical condition.
Can we
serious medical condition that can take so much out of you. I feel like I have to wind myself up just to get out of bed. Then, I have to keep winding myself up to deal with the sadness, the loss of interest, the trouble concentrating, lack of energy. If depression is taking so much out of you, ask your doctor about Pristique.
Pristique is a prescription medicine proven to treat depression. Pristique is thought to work by affecting the levels of 2 chemicals in the brain, serotonin and norepinephrine. Tell your doctor right away if your depression worsens or you have unusual changes in mood, behavior, or thoughts of suicide. Antidepressants can increase suicidal thoughts and behaviors in children, teens, and young adults. Pristique is not approved for children under 18. Do not take Pristique with MAOIs. Taking Pristique with NSAID pain relievers, aspirin, or blood thinners may increase bleeding risk. Tell your doctor about all your medications, including those for migraine, to avoid a potentially life-threatening condition. Pristique may cause or worsen high blood pressure, high cholesterol, or glaucoma. Tell your doctor if you have heart disease or before you reduce or stop taking Pristique. Side effects may include nausea, dizziness, and sweating.
For me, Pristique is a key in helping to treat my depression.
Ask your doctor about Pristique.
So this commercial overall really idealizes Pristique. Not everyone's gonna all of a sudden feel happy and like they don't have to be constantly wound up. And they even idolize the symptoms that this woman had. You know, they add in the darker lighting. They show the little winding doll, like she's constantly running out of energy and like being too sad to function in a way. And also, so how they go from happy to sad when she takes the medicine. And once they start getting into the side effects, you know, they won't just show you their overall logo, but they show her being happy and like being with her family outside in a happy environment. So that really draws attention to the fact that she's happy instead of the audience focusing on the side effects. So basically the idolized elements are both the symptoms and the treatment of the medical condition are exaggerated. And this also, the public's view then is distorted of this drug. You know, they don't totally see that this is kind of a marketing ploy. But also, they then take the drug even more serious. So they might think that this might be right for them and can go to the doctor and ask about this drug, or they just realize that depression is a really serious condition as other people have to deal with it.
Okay, so I field fashion design. So I wanted to link my field and Andrew's field. So in the commercial we see like this whole idealized, like them selling you this perfect drug that's going to fix this perfect thing. So I'm going to speak first about my discourse community personally, so some of the audience members may not understand exactly what I'm saying, but I will introduce them after this topic that you guys will understand, or hopefully understand a little bit better and connect to. So in fashion design, we idealize everything. So you see this pretty model wearing this pretty dress on Instagram. I'll try and connect it to you now. But what you don't see is all the behind the scenes things, the works that go into making the dress, all of the technologies that go into making the dress. So here we see samples versus software. Again, I've talked about this before, so just to give you guys a little bit better of an understanding. When we, in industry, make CAD programs, when we use CAD programs, we'll pick a model. This model has a perfect form, she is the idealized person. So we design dresses, clothing, anything that would fit on this model. And then we have tech packs, which is this little piece of paper over here, with all the stitching sizes, all this very intricate things that you guys might not grasp. But and then once you finish with the CAD program, you're finished with your tech pack. That gets sent to a factory and they produce a sample. So the sample is also idealized because when it comes back from production, it's this perfect shape for this perfect woman. But then when you take a model, when you take a fit model, like a real live person, and you put it on them and you say, this is going to work, this is going to be good, you have to adjust things based on that body type. So everything's idealized, especially within the CAD softwares and Down here is so up top on the right is a CAD program that we use here in Jefferson, and down here is a program in industry that's not extremely versatile yet, but it's like up and coming. It's called Clo. So now I'm gonna make you guys understand what I'm trying to say a little bit better. So how many of you guys have ever seen bamboo pillows advertised in stores or online, like commercials on TV, stuff like that? So how many of you, okay, put your hands down. How many of you actually think that there's bamboo in that pillow? So everything's idealized. We see this product being sold to us as, oh, this fantastic bamboo memory foam pillow. And we think, oh my gosh, they're cutting down all this bamboo like it's dead. It's great. It's going to save whatever. There's no bamboo in that pillow. If you do research on it, there's no difference between a regular like microfiber pillow versus the bamboo pillow. So in a way, we're told lies to the general public is almost told a lie because they're idealizing it so much. They're saying, oh, this is so great, you're going to love this. But if you actually look at the content of the pillow, 60% is polyester and 40% is cotton, so you're not really getting any bamboo. So yeah.
Right, so in architecture, we idealize a lot because for what we do, we design, building structures and stuff, and we can't just snap our fingers and have the building appear to show the client and be like, hey, this is what we want to build you. So we use various different programs, as the icons are shown up there, and we use these to create renderings, which are 3D ways that we can show them what the buildings look like and stuff. And this is a way, and then we also, with the renderings, we can control what the building looks like, how the light reflects on it, what weather it's in, what the people look like around it. And that way we can really sell to the client, be like, this building is perfect for you. The light's going to shine beautifully throughout the building. It's going to be this great open space that you wanted. But in reality, during a rainstorm, this might be the darkest building on the planet, and it's not going to work out. So with these renderings and stuff, we're using it to be able to sell the point that we want to give you and focus you onto the building. My Viz professor actually told me this story about when he is very skilled in Photoshop, and he was hired by this magazine to take pictures of a room. And when they were editing the room, they had to take out all of the light sockets in the room because they wanted people to focus on the major details of the room and how the furniture sat, how the light was. They didn't want them focusing on where the light sockets were or where the light switches were and worry about all that. They wanted to more focus on selling the idea of the building and the room, and that's where we use the idealization to bring that in so that you guys understand the main points that we're trying to break out and not nitpick the little light switches and stuff like that.
So we're going to go into a little section where we're going to show some comparisons and try to give you guys feedback. So for all the architects or design majors in the room, you might be able to tell straight away, but this is a pretty subtle example of idealization and rendering. It's a real site with a real building, but one of them is edited in ways that you might not instantly recognize and say, oh, this one looks better, but it's, it'll mess with you subliminally to appreciate the building more and at least focus your attention in places where the designer wants you to. So how many people think the one on the right is the real one and not the rendering? Yeah, pretty much everybody. And how could you tell that? There's really small things, and if you look at it long enough, you'll realize it. But, the cars, the placement, this kind of reflections in the lighting, mostly just the shadows or even the textures are a little bit more realistic. But in that realism, you kind of find that there's, imperfections. So in the left, there's really not much change, but it's kind of brighter. There's these models here that kind of are looking at this facade as if someone's going to stand by and just look at this building for no reason. There's no cars here. It's like really open, even though it's in an urban environment where most likely there's going to be cars there 24/7. They change the texturing on the side a little bit so it doesn't look as like dull. They make shadows like more stark, so you get to like see the geometry a little. It gives you more impact. So here's a really, really subtle version. Question. Oh, sorry, my bad.
15.
Gotcha. You can go to the next one. So here is a little bit more of like it's in your face, it even says it. But, I mean, that's no, you would be able to tell. And here we have a building that isn't necessarily like crazy and, new or modern. It's kind of this boring building. But in the rendering, you can see that they add some greenery. Once again, they like brighten it up. They change the shadows. They play with it to really get your attention just on the facade. I mean, here I'm more focused on this like dank lamp here and like the kind of scene of just like an urban environment. It's more realistic. And like Amanda was saying before, I mean, at this time of day, look how dark it is. It's not really inviting or whatever. So if someone's trying to sell that space, of course they're going to edit it to try to not make you think about this, which is the reality. We got, actually, the second to last one. So this is another example, kind of subtle, but even just playing with the lighting, it looks more fantastical, it looks more, interesting. This building it's really just a kind of skyscraper shape. There's nothing crazy about it, but just playing with, like contrast and stuff, even the colors, it's like, this is more natural. It's going to look black and kind of bluey in the windows, but if you look here, it's kind of more orange and red. It gives this more like fantasy type landscape. And finally, one more thing we wanted to talk about was in architecture. There's a big argument going on right now. We talked about before how like are you going to use this tool for good or evil? And this is like a kind of art piece. To bring attention to that, it's pretty much just like the idealized render versus what can actually be achieved, like in real life. So the whole thing is people think that design is kind of going away from practicality and really like getting to the client's ideas and what they want. And we're kind of focused on this imperfect, or rather the perfect, unattainable render. And all the focus goes in there and in the pre-work. But when it comes to actually building the space, it's a whole big thing, like what can actually be achieved, what is realistic, and what it's actually going to look like. So just to call attention to a pretty big issue that's going on in our field.
So in all of our fields, you pretty much saw the duality in using idealization. We all use it so that our audience, the public, the general, can really focus on what we want them to focus on. With idealization, there is the takeaway of some minor details, but there's the major focus on what we really want to stress. And we really use it to sell products or ideas, explain procedures. Sometimes we simplify them through idealization so that the public can really get a good basic understanding without getting lost in words our discourse community might use towards each other. And overall, we're really informing the public and convincing them of the information that we're putting out there.
Let's take a few minutes for questions and comments.
Is there any other questions?
Anything at all?
I think that was really good. You all knew what you were like talking about, and you didn't hesitate, and it just flowed. It all went together. It made sense.
Thank you.
Is it illegal to say when something has something but it doesn't, like the bamboozle law? Like, can you get sued for that?
We actually talked about this, and I had taken a survey of textiles course, and we had actually, our professor, Tiani and I were in the same class, so our professor was like in the middle of a lawsuit because a company had said they put something in a product, but they didn't. I think that's what it was. So it depends on the the company, and it's almost like the FDA, where there's like a certain amount of regulation on the specific product, but there's not like a law that says, oh, you need to have this and this and this and this in this product specifically because it is manufactured differently.
And then kind of to piggyback off of what you just said, it also depends how big your lie is. Because people don't, if it's like the littlest thing, people aren't going to care, but obviously it's a pillow that says bamboo and there's no bamboo, so like people get more angry about this stuff that's...
You think you're paying for like a bamboo pillow, but you're getting like, what's that, memory foam?
Memory foam.
Thing?
It's a great pillow though.
It is a good pillow. It's really just memory foam.
So are you saying this is more of like an issue in all of your fields that like you kind of need to solve, or you're just like making people aware of it?
I think mostly it's just like it's a tool, and a tool isn't innately good or bad. It's really just how we're using it. And I mean, there's countless good things you can do, but I think it's important to call attention to the discrepancies where it might not always be good, like in medicine, or maybe the renders, or whatever it's going to be. But it's we like to call attention that it's a powerful tool, and good and bad, we both use it. So.
Do you think it's just used in terms of business? Like each of your majors use it in like when it comes to selling products? I know like Red Bull got sued for it's like Red Bull gives you wings, like saying. But do you think that has like positive effects that you're like, for instance, pre-med, like it can make a medicine idealized so that there's a placebo effect for the patient? So there's like that improvement part. So do you think that your majors have like an improvement or like a positive impact using idealization instead of like just the business aspect of it?
That's a good question. Want to do this one? I wanted to really focus on one kind of overall topic, but something else I was going to discuss was idealized, like in some reports released, people will idealize like body systems in order to have a quicker and simpler way of seeing what's really going on. So one I was going to analyze was a mouth and throat system, and they made the mouth just like circular, so you don't see all the little details, and you're more focused on what they want you to focus on, and what they want you to see. So in that way, it's really good to be able to get a very, very basic and correct understanding, rather than maybe being confused by other factors playing in.
It's really just a tool to get important information across to the general public that wouldn't understand all the technical terms each of our majors use to describe maybe specific things.
Do you have a sense of if what is idealized changes over time? So is it the case that we all idealize or want to see the same things always? Or does something like how a building, a woman's body, how the idealizations of those things might change with preferences or culture? That is to say, like, are our idealizations always the same always? Right?
I mean, I think that, of course, if you idealize something, it's supposed to be somewhat good. You're not going to idealize something in a way where you want it to be bad all the time. So, like, I don't know, I guess maybe like an iPhone or like a smartphone would be a good example. It's like they're not advertising all the, like every single piece of, like every diode and all that, or every LED. They're just like, here's the new features, it looks sleek, it's a new piece of technology. If you want to know more, you can look into it. And of course, the people that do, they will. The nerds that want like a specific type of RAM in their phone because they want to program on their phone, they're going to look into that. But for most people, I'd say, an idealized product or image or anything is going to be more appealing than the realistic one. So
I feel like piggybacking off of that too, it does have a sense to do with us, like each of our majors marketing something to the general public. Like you said, a general public. like a woman's body. So if I were to go and get a job at, I don't know, Adidas, and they were like, you need to design a line of men's football wear. Like, that's what I have to adapt to. So I think you do, in a way, have to change your mindset a little bit to work with whatever clientele you need to work with. And I think that definitely goes for architecture as well, and probably medicine, depending on, you know, a client that comes in or a patient that comes in with a specific, you know, medical illness. You have to diagnose them correctly. But I think it definitely does have to do with selling a product to a client. Most of our cases.
Over time, I feel like everything changes. You know, people want different things to go with the trends. But overall, especially with lighting, people don't want to be in dark and dingy places. I mean, some of us might. Like, that's really where some of us thrive. But, you know, everyone loves that warmth. They love to feel that warmth through what they see. That's not really ever going to change. We all have, like, basic needs, and I feel like these idealizations really, like, anchor onto those.
So part of what I hear you saying is that on the one hand, idealizations are going to be, to some extent, audience specific, right? Like the decisions that you make for one client might not apply for another, right? If you're designing for Adidas, maybe you're going to make different choices than if you are designing for H&M, right? And maybe certain patients, they would take a certain side effect if they could alleviate just the one symptom that they're really, really bothered by. I mean, these are the kinds of like choices that you have to make as a kind of communicator to the public, right? Like, what public are you communicating for? At the same time, there's some universal things, right? Some things that are going to be less resistant to change. Any other questions or comments?